Timing is everything in markets. And man, Palantir just hit the jackpot with timing. We're literally 48 hours away from one of the biggest catalysts this stock has ever seen, and I'm sitting here wondering if people fully understand what's about to happen. Monday, June 30th, PLTR gets officially added to the Russell 1000 index, and this isn't some ceremonial thing. This is forced buying from passive funds that have no choice but to buy the stock. Let me break this down because the Russell inclusion stuff can be confusing. Passive index funds that track the Russell 1000 are literally required to buy PLTR shares to match their benchmark. They don't get to have opinions about valuation or whether they like the company, they just have to buy. That's structural demand that happens regardless of what anyone thinks about the stock. The inclusion becomes effective after Friday's close, and we're already seeing institutional activity in the SEC filings. Multiple funds have been adding to their Pluto positions over the weekend, which tells you the smart money is getting positioned ahead of time. That 10% drop we saw on Friday, most of that was Russell rebalancing trades as funds adjusted their positions before the official inclusion. Classic sell the rumor, buy the news setup. But here's where it gets really interesting. This Russell inclusion is happening at the exact same time as Palantir just dropped some massive news that I think the market is still processing. We just heard about this $100 million deal with the nuclear company to develop an AI-powered nuclear operating system. $100 million. And we're not talking about some consulting contract here. This is Palantir entering a completely new market that could be absolutely massive. With all the talk about nuclear energy making a comeback because of AI data center power demands, Palantir just positioned themselves as the software backbone for the nuclear renaissance. Think about it. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, all these tech giants are desperately looking for clean energy sources to power their AI infrastructure. Nuclear is looking more and more like the only realistic solution for baseload power at the scale they need, and now Palantir is building the operating system for it. That's not just one deal, that could be the beginning of an entire new business line. I was talking to someone in the energy sector last week, and they mentioned how antiquated most nuclear plant software still is. Some of these facilities are running on systems from the 80s and 90s. If Palantir can truly modernize and streamline nuclear operations with AI, we could be looking at a massive new addressable market that nobody's really pricing in yet. The timing with the Russell inclusion is almost too perfect. You've got forced institutional buying happening at the same time as this nuclear breakthrough gets announced. It's like the stars are aligning for this stock. And let's talk about the technical picture because it's been pretty wild lately. PLTR hit new all-time highs this week at $148.21 before that Friday sell-off. But honestly, that pullback felt more like positioning ahead of the Russell moves rather than any fundamental concern. The stock was already recovering in after-hours Friday, up about 3%, which tells me the underlying momentum is still there. I expect Monday to be absolutely crazy from a volatility standpoint. You're going to have passive funds executing their Russell buys while active traders try to front-run or fade those moves. Historically, Russell inclusions often create an initial pop followed by some consolidation, but the structural demand stays in place. What really gets me excited about Palantir right now is how their fundamentals are actually backing up all this hype. The Q1 results showed growth accelerating to 39% year over year, which is impressive for a company this size. But the real story was in the commercial segment. 71% growth. That shows they're successfully expanding beyond their traditional government customer base. Their U.S. business grew 55%, and a lot of that is driven by demand for their AI platform, AIP. This artificial intelligence platform is basically Palantir's answer to the AI boom, letting companies integrate large language models securely into their private networks. The workflow builder lets even non-technical users create AI applications, which is huge for adoption. Actually, let me step back for a second because I think people sometimes miss what makes Palantir different from other AI plays. This isn't just another ChatGPT wrapper or generic AI tool. Palantir is building the infrastructure that lets organizations actually deploy AI at scale while maintaining security and compliance. That's why they're winning contracts with governments and enterprises that can't afford data breaches or security risks. The nuclear deal is a perfect example of this. Nuclear facilities can't just use any AI system. They need something that meets the highest security and reliability standards. Palantir's track record with defense and intelligence agencies makes them the obvious choice for critical infrastructure infrastructure applications. Speaking of defense, the geopolitical backdrop couldn't be better for Palantir. With ongoing tensions between the US and China, plus the situation in Ukraine, demand for their defense technology is through the roof. They've already proven their software works in real conflict situations, which strengthens their position as an essential partner for governments. Looking at immediate catalysts, we've got several things lining up perfectly. Monday starts the Russell buying, obviously. July 2nd, Tesla reports delivery numbers, and since Palantir processes a lot of Tesla's data, strong Tesla numbers could give PLTR a boost too. Then in July, earnings preview season begins, and Palantir has a history of surprising with guidance increases. Plus, we're expecting updates on the nuclear operating system implementation. If other nuclear companies start showing interest, or if additional deals get announced, that could really move the needle. Now, I gotta be honest about the risks here, because this isn't a slam dunk by any means. The valuation is pretty steep. We're talking a price-to-sales ratio over 100. That doesn't leave much room for disappointment. The stock is also still heavily dependent on government contracts for about 55% of revenue, which makes it vulnerable to political changes. The competition is heating up too. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they're all fighting for the enterprise AI market. And while Palantir has a technological edge right now, they need to prove that advantage is sustainable long-term. The volatility is another thing to consider. This stock can move 10 to 15% in a single day on basically any news. If you can't handle that kind of ride, this probably isn't for you. But here's what has me really optimistic. All the major trends are working in Palantir's favor. AI adoption is accelerating, geopolitical tensions are increasing demand for defense tech, and digitalization is forcing organizations to modernize their data infrastructure. Palantir sits right at the intersection of all these trends. The Russell inclusion alone would be significant, but combining it with the nuclear deal and the broader AI momentum, that's a pretty rare alignment of catalysts. This feels like one of those moments where everything comes together. I keep thinking about how Palantir has evolved from this secretive data company that mostly worked with spy agencies to becoming essential infrastructure for the AI age. The nuclear deal shows they're not just riding the AI wave, they're actively expanding into new markets where their technology can have massive impact. What really excites me is that we're probably still early in understanding what Palantir can become. If they can successfully establish themselves as the go-to platform for secure, scalable AI deployment, the addressable market is enormous. Every large organization is going to need this kind of capability eventually. The Russell inclusion is happening Monday, whether the market is up, down, or sideways. That buying pressure is locked in. But the nuclear deal and everything else, that's upside that I don't think is fully reflected in the current price yet. Obviously, this isn't financial advice, but when you see technical catalysts, Russell inclusion, aligning with fundamental breakthroughs, nuclear expansion, during a massive secular trend, AI adoption, it's worth paying attention. Monday should be interesting, to say the least.